Hey, it's Dave Weiner with ET Online, and I'm here with Katie Featherston. And we are here to talk about Katie's 5 favorite scary movies. Number 5.
Number 5 is The Conjuring, starring Patrick Wilson, which is based on the Warrens, who were this couple back in, I think, the 70s who studied the paranormal in different cases.
They were kind of known for the Amityville Horror as
yeah,
well.
Yeah. That was, I think, I think that movie was based on one of their later cases. And this movie is just terrifying. It's a movie that has a really slow build, and I don't even know what it is about this film that scared me so much, but it was painful for me in the movie theater, and then afterwards I was afraid to go in my house. I was afraid to wash my face in the shower, and I slept with the lights on. Number 4 is Jaws, which is not a traditional scary movie, but I think it fits the bill. It is, I think, the best example of doing a lot with very little. The fact that we very rarely ever see the shark is, I think, so terrifying. And I think it's just one of those movies that gets under your skin and sticks with you. And I remember as a kid being afraid to swim in my pool in the backyard because I had seen this movie too young, and I was traumatized.
Yeah, people were afraid to go in the water after that, and they were afraid to go in their own pools.
Yeah, chlorine pool in the backyard. Come on. Number 3 is Candyman, starring Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen. This movie, oh my gosh, really traumatized me and my best friend as we were growing up because I forced her to watch it so many times. Tony Todd was such a force of fear in that film that I appreciate his acting and other things, but I will always part of me will always go, oh, Candyman. It's so good. It's so scary.
Candyman.
Don't. There's too many. Don't even go there. One of the reasons why this movie was so frightening for me as a kid was because I used to watch it so often with my best friend, and there was one night I was on my dad's farm and we had just moved in. There were like no blinds on the windows, and it was all it was very dark, and she was terrified, and so we're going to sleep, and I get a recorder and I sneak off into my dad's closet, and it's one of those old-timey ones, and I go, Brittany, over and over. And if you remember, there's a scene in the movie where he says, Helen. So we go to sleep, I slow down the recorder so it sounds deeper, and we're laying there like a slumber party style, and all of a sudden I hear Brittany, and she's like, what is that, Katie, did you hear that? And I'm like, I don't know, I didn't hear anything. And then I'm talking over it as it happens again, and she started crying. It was and then I felt terrible, and I traumatized her, and she still remembers that and brings it up, and Brittany, I'm really sorry. Number 2 is The Exorcist, which I think is a pretty classic scary movie.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, it's really, really wonderful, wonderfully done, and I think very inventive for its time. And it's just one of those movies that you can't ever forget once you've seen it. It's sort of is glued onto your brain for forever, and is the kind of scary movie that everyone compares their movies to. So it's always been one of my favorites.
That's a movie for me where when I was a kid I saw it on TV first, and my grandmother knitted an Afghan with poles big enough for me to watch just enough and be protected.
Yep, that's good. That's a good method. I should have probably tried that on a few. Candyman would be one of them. Number 1 is Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Empire Strikes Back. I saw this movie when I was 4 or 5, and I was at a babysitter's house, and it was the scene where Darth Vader lands on the Death Star and is coming out, and everybody's lined up, and the guy's like, "Oh, Darth Vader, this is a pleasant surprise," and I'm thinking, "No, it's not a pleasant surprise," and it was so scary. And then at the babysitter's house, she then had me take a nap on Star Wars sheets, and I was from then on convinced that Darth Vader lived in my mom's closet for years. And
Darth Vader was the boogeyman.
For me, he was. And years later, I saw him in like a Dillard's or something. They had some sort of, I don't know what they were doing, but for some reason they had some man dressed up as Darth Vader, and it was like my world stopped. I thought I was over this fear. All of a sudden, it was back. I was like fixed to the spot. I couldn't yell for my mom. It was terrifying.
For me, I was very annoyed by Darth Vader's breathing. That's kind of the one thing for me that ruined Star Wars. I loved Star Wars beginning to end, but when Darth Vader is just, he's saying something menacing, I'm like, he's got a problem breathing, you know?
So
this
scary
is distracting.
It's so funny that it affects you that way, and to me it's like deep-seated fear.
Honorable mentions?
Yes, 5 is too short of a list, so.
We could do American Werewolf in London is one of my favorites.
That's good.
And Psycho, can't forget
Oh,
that.
that's so good.
How about you?
I would say Rosemary's Baby. When a Stranger Calls, the original version.
Of course.
and The Shining.
The Shining.
It was so good.
Cannot forget that one. We are forgetting one.
What?
Paranormal Activity.
I don't know that one.